It's 3:17 in the morning. The house is quiet, but your mind isn't. You're lying there staring at the ceiling, running the numbers again. Social Security, the savings account that never seems quite enough, the unexpected car repair last month, the rising cost of everything. You've worked for 50 years. You've been responsible, careful, faithful, and yet here you are at 73, worrying about money in the dark. After a lifetime of earning, saving, and planning, shouldn't finances feel settled by now? Shouldn't there be peace? Here's what the Buddha understood 2,500 years ago that changes everything. The anxiety you feel isn't really about the numbers in your bank account. It's about clinging to a security that was never real to begin with. True wealth isn't what you've accumulated over 7 decades. It's what you've finally learned to release. Today I'll share 7 ancient Buddhist truths that reveal a prosperity you already possess. One that doesn't depend on stock markets, inflation, or how much is left in your retirement fund. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover has sustained millions of hearts through every kind of economic storm for over 2 millennia. Lesson 1. Contentment is the greatest wealth. The Buddha once said, "Health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, faithfulness the best relationship." Notice what he named as wealth. Not gold, not land, not investments, contentment. For most of your life, Western culture has been whispering a different message. More is better. Bigger is success. Accumulation is security. You absorbed this teaching so young, you probably don't even remember learning it. It became the water you swam in. But now, in your 70s or 80s, something shifts. Your body has taught you that health matters more than a big house. Loss has taught you that relationships matter more than possessions. And if you're paying attention, age is teaching you something even more profound. Enough is not a number, it's a feeling. There's a Buddhist parable about a wealthy merchant who visited the Buddha seeking the secret to happiness. The merchant said, "I have great wealth, but I cannot sleep peacefully. I worry constantly about losing what I have." The Buddha asked him, "How much of your wealth do you use each day?" The merchant thought and replied, "Only a small portion, my food, my shelter, simple clothes." "And the rest?" the Buddha asked. "I keep it safe, guarded, protected." The Buddha smiled gently. "So you possess great wealth but live like a poor man, not enjoying it, only protecting it." The truly wealthy person is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. This teaching reveals what you've probably begun to notice in your own life. Accumulation doesn't bring contentment. Contentment comes from recognizing when you have enough. Let me tell you about Richard. At 76, Richard lived in a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs, the same house where he'd raised his children 40 years earlier. The mortgage was paid off, but the maintenance never ended. The roof leaked. The furnace needed replacing. The yard required constant attention he no longer had energy for. Every room held furniture, boxes, memories, and an invisible weight he carried without naming it. One afternoon, sitting in his oversized living room, Richard had a realization that changed everything. "I'm not living in this house," he told his daughter. "I'm serving it." Within 6 months, Richard moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment in a senior community. He gave away most of his furniture. He kept only what he truly loved and actually used. His children worried he was giving up, diminishing himself. But when I spoke with Richard a year after his move, his eyes held something I hadn't seen before: lightness. "I thought I'd feel poor," he said. "Instead, I feel rich for the first time in decades. I don't worry about repairs. I don't maintain things I don't need. I sit by my window, drink my coffee, and I'm just here, present, free. This is what the Buddha meant by contentment as wealth. Richard didn't become poor by releasing his big house. He became wealthy by discovering that enough space, enough possessions, enough responsibility was more than abundance. It was freedom. Here's a practice the Buddha taught to his disciples that you can begin tomorrow morning. The 3 treasures gratitude practice. Step 1. Before you get out of bed, before you check your phone or worry about your day, place your hand on your heart. Step 2. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Step 3. With each breath, name one thing you possess that money cannot buy. Your awareness in this moment. Your breath moving in and out. Your ability to notice the morning light touching your wall. Step 4. Whisper quietly, this is wealth. This is enough. This simple 5-minute practice trains the mind to recognize prosperity it's been overlooking. Over time, you'll notice your relationship with money shifting, not because the numbers changed, but because you discovered a wealth that was always present. Contentment isn't settling for less. It's discovering that what you have is enough, and enough, it turns out, is a kind of prosperity that never fluctuates with the economy. Letting go doesn't make you poor. Clinging to what fades makes you suffer. Lesson 2. Non-attachment protects your peace. The Buddha once taught, you only lose what you cling to. These 6 words hold the key to understanding why financial anxiety persists even when you have enough. There's a teaching in Buddhism about a wealthy merchant who couldn't sleep. He owned 3 ships, 2 warehouses, and land across multiple provinces. Every night, he lay awake worrying, what if the ships sink? What if thieves come? What if the harvest fails? Down the road lived a monk with 3 robes, 1 bowl, and a sleeping mat. Every night, he slept deeply, peacefully, without fear. Same world, same uncertainties, completely different experience. The difference wasn't what they owned, it was what owned them. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment, from clinging to things that are, by their very nature, impermanent. Your bank account will change. Your health will shift. Your home, your possessions, even your body. All of it is temporary. When we cling to any of these as our source of security, we set ourselves up for endless anxiety. Financial worry isn't really about money. It's about attachment to a permanence that doesn't exist. In the ancient texts, there's a story of a monk who carried water in a clay pot every day from the river to the monastery. One day, the pot cracked and water began leaking out. A young student saw this and cried out, "Master, your pot is broken. You're losing all the water." The monk smiled and said, "I'm not losing water. The pot is teaching me impermanence. Water flows, pots crack. Everything changes. I carried what I could carry while I could carry it. Now I'll get another pot and carry again. Nothing was ever truly mine to keep." This is the teaching of non-attachment. Not that you don't care about things, but that you hold them lightly, knowing they're temporary. The practice here is simple, but profound. Whenever you notice financial anxiety rising in your chest, that tightness, that worry, that fear, try this, the what am I holding? Reflection. Step 1. Pause whatever you're doing. Sit down if you can. Step 2. Place your hand on your heart and take 3 slow breaths. Step 3. Ask yourself gently, what am I holding that's holding me? Step 4. Name it honestly. It might be money itself. It might be a specific possession. It might be a plan or expectation. It might simply be the idea that you can control what's essentially uncertain. Step 5. Imagine, just for a moment, setting it down, not abandoning it, just loosening your grip. Notice what happens in your body when you do this. even in imagination. This practice doesn't solve financial problems, but it transforms your relationship with them. You shift from someone desperate to control the uncontrollable to someone who can hold life's uncertainties with more grace. Letting go doesn't make you poor. Clinging to what fades makes you suffer. Lesson 3. Right livelihood continues beyond career. The Buddha taught about right livelihood as one aspect of the Eightfold Path: work that doesn't harm, work that contributes, work that serves. In the Sigalovada Sutta, he gave detailed guidance to a householder about managing life wisely at every stage, including how to live with dignity when the working years end. The Buddha said, "Just as a bee gathers nectar and moves on without harming the flower, so too should a wise person move through life, taking what is needed, giving what can be given, leaving no trace of harm." This teaching reveals something essential. Your value doesn't come from your paycheck. It comes from your presence, your kindness, your wisdom accumulated over decades. Retirement doesn't mean your Dharma work is done. It means the nature of your contribution shifts. In our culture, we measure wealth by consumption, how much you can buy, own, or experience. But Buddhist wisdom points to a deeper prosperity, the wealth of contribution, what you offer, not what you take, how you serve, not what you accumulate. This shift becomes especially important after 60, when your career ends. If you've defined yourself by your productivity, you may feel like you've lost your value. The world might treat you that way too, as if you're no longer contributing, but that's a poverty of imagination, not truth. There's a Zen teaching story about an elderly gardener who tended the temple grounds. A young monk, ambitious and full of energy, watched the old man slowly, carefully raking leaves. The young monk said, "Master, you're so slow. If you worked faster, you'd finish sooner and have time to meditate." The old gardener smiled and continued his careful work. "Every leaf I touch," he said, "I touch with full attention. Every movement I make is meditation. You think sitting on a cushion is the only way to practice? I'm practicing right now. This garden is my Dharma. These leaves are my teachers." The young monk watched more carefully and realized the garden was immaculate. The old man's movements were graceful, peaceful. He wasn't just raking leaves. He was offering beauty, care, presence. That was his wealth. Right livelihood doesn't end when the paycheck stops. It transforms. You trade the wealth of consumption for the wealth of contribution, and contribution, it turns out, is a currency that appreciates with age. Here's a practice to explore this week. Set aside 1 hour and ask yourself, how am I still offering value? Not grand value, not changing the world. Simple value. A kind word to the checkout clerk, a patient ear for a neighbor, a skill you can share. Your presence itself is an offering if you give it with intention. Write down 3 small ways you contributed this week that had nothing to do with money. This practice helps you recognize wealth you might be overlooking. You are not less valuable because you do less. You are differently valuable, and that difference might be exactly what someone needs. Lesson 4. Generosity creates abundance, the Buddha taught. If you knew what I know about the power of giving, you would not let a single meal pass without sharing it in some way. This teaching goes against everything our fearful minds tell us about scarcity. When you feel you don't have enough, the instinct is to close your hand, to protect, to hoard. Fear whispers, if you give this away, you'll have even less. But the Buddha understood a deeper truth. The act of giving actually opens something in the heart. It shifts you from scarcity to sufficiency. There's a beautiful Buddhist story about a poor woman named Sumana who lived during the Buddha's time. She worked as a servant and earned barely enough to feed herself. One day she wanted to make an offering to the Buddha and his monks. But she had nothing. No food, no money, no possessions of value. She went to the market and begged for work. After a full day of labor, she earned one small coin. With that coin, she could buy one tiny oil lamp. That evening, she placed her single lamp among hundreds of elaborate offerings from wealthy merchants: gold, jewels, fine foods, ornate lanterns. The Buddha walked through the offerings and stopped at her small lamp. He said, "This lamp, offered from a heart that gave everything, shines brighter than all the others combined. For she gave not from her excess, but from her need." That night, a great wind arose and blew out all the other lamps. But Sumana's lamp continued burning, protected by the purity of her intention. This teaching reveals something the world gets backward. Generosity doesn't come from having excess. Abundance comes from generosity. The giving itself creates the opening through which prosperity flows. This is dana, the Buddhist practice of generosity. It's not about the amount, it's about the quality of heart that accompanies the giving, and that quality of heart transforms the giver more than the recipient. The Buddha taught that generosity is one of the fundamental practices for a reason. It directly counters the grip of fear and attachment. Every time you give something, money, time, attention, kindness, you tell yourself a truer story. I am not defined by what I hold. I am defined by what I offer. Here's a practice that Buddhist monks have used for centuries: the generosity and scarcity practice. Step 1. This week, notice when you feel the squeeze of financial anxiety, that moment when you think, "I don't have enough." Step 2. In that exact moment, find something small to give. Not recklessly, not more than you actually have, but intentionally. $5 to someone in need, an hour helping a neighbor, a kind word to a stranger, even a smile offered freely. Step 3. As you give, pay attention to what happens in your chest. Does it tighten with fear? Does it open with warmth? Just notice, without judgment. Step 4. Later that day, reflect. Did the giving diminish you, or did it somehow expand you? Over time, this practice rewires your relationship with scarcity. You begin to discover what the Buddha knew: the hand that gives is never empty. Letting go doesn't make you poor. Clinging to what fades makes you suffer. Lesson 5. Simplicity reveals what matters. There's a Zen story about a master who lived in a small room with almost nothing. A mat, a bowl, a robe. A student visited and asked, "Master, where is your furniture? Where are your possessions?" The master replied, "Where are yours?" The student said, "I'm only passing through. I'm just visiting." The master smiled, "So am I." This teaching points to something you've probably learned in 70 or 80 years of living. Accumulation becomes burden. The more you own, the more you maintain. The larger your life becomes, the more energy it requires just to keep it running. The Buddha taught his disciples, "He who has few wishes is content. He who has many wishes suffers." Simplicity isn't poverty. It's clarity. It's removing what obscures what matters. In the Buddhist texts, there's a teaching about a wealthy man who built a mansion with 100 rooms. He spent his days walking from room to room, checking on things, worried about maintaining everything. One day, exhausted, he sat in his garden and realized, "I built all these rooms, but I can only sit in one at a time. I own 100 spaces, but I live in none of them." He began giving rooms away to travelers, to monks, to families in need. As each room emptied, he felt lighter. By the time he'd given away all but one simple room, he discovered he was finally home, not in a place, but in himself. This is the Buddhist teaching on simplicity, not as deprivation, but as liberation. When you remove what you don't need, what remains becomes visible, and what remains is often more than enough. The Buddha and his monks traveled with almost nothing: a bowl, a robe, basic necessities, not because poverty was the goal, but because freedom was. With little to maintain, they could walk anywhere, serve anyone, stay light. You don't have to become a monk, but you can ask Buddhist questions. What am I maintaining that no longer serves me? What possessions have become burdens? What would my life feel like with less weight? Here's a practice drawn from monastic tradition, the 30-day lightening practice. Step 1. For the next 30 days, release one possession each day. Not valuable things necessarily, just things. The sweater you haven't worn in 3 years, the duplicate kitchen gadget, the decorative item you've stopped seeing. Step 2. Before releasing each item, hold it for a moment. Thank it for whatever service it provided. Then let it go. Donate it, gift it, release it. Step 3. Notice what happens in your home as space opens. Notice what happens in your mind as attachment loosens. Step 4. At the end of 30 days, you'll have released 30 things. More importantly, you'll have practiced the art of letting go 30 times. That practice becomes the real treasure. By the end of the month, something shifts. You realize, I didn't need those things. And if I didn't need those, what else am I carrying unnecessarily? Letting go doesn't make you poor. Clinging to what fades makes you suffer. Lesson 6. Presence is priceless. The Buddha taught, the past is already gone. The future is not yet here. There's only one moment for you to live, and that is the present moment. This teaching becomes especially powerful in the later years of life. You've spent decades thinking about the future, planning, saving, preparing. Now the future is shorter. The question shifts. How do you want to spend your remaining time? And here's what Buddhism reveals. The only wealth you truly possess is this present moment. Not the moment you're planning for. Not the moment you remember. This one, right now. In the teachings, there's a story of a man walking through a forest who encountered a tiger. He ran to the edge of a cliff and began climbing down a vine to escape. Looking down, he saw another tiger waiting below. Looking up, he saw the first tiger at the cliff's edge. Then he noticed 2 mice, one white, one black, gnawing at the vine. In that moment, trapped between tigers with his vine being eaten away, he noticed a wild strawberry growing from the cliff face. He picked it and ate it. A student later asked the Buddha, "Master, what does this story mean?" The Buddha replied, "How sweet the strawberry tasted." This teaching reveals something profound. Even in the most uncertain circumstances, the present moment offers its gifts. The man couldn't control the tigers. He couldn't stop the mice, but he could taste the strawberry fully. Financial anxiety pulls you out of the present. You're either worrying about the past, what you didn't save, what you lost, what you should have done, or you're anxious about the future. What if you run out? What if something happens? What if you can't afford what's coming? But while you're lost in past and future, the present moment, the only moment you actually have, passes unlived. This is sati, mindfulness, presence, the practice of being fully here, fully aware, fully alive in this moment. Here's how to cultivate this wealth. The sacred ordinary practice. Step 1. Choose one ordinary activity today and commit to doing it with complete presence. Drinking your morning coffee, walking to the mailbox, washing your hands. Pick something simple you do every day. Step 2. Before you begin, take one deep breath and silently say, "For the next few minutes, I am only here." Step 3. As you perform the activity, notice everything. If you're drinking coffee, feel the warmth of the cup. Notice the aroma. Taste each sip fully. If thoughts about money or worries arise, gently acknowledge them, thinking about money, and return your attention to the cup, the taste, this moment. Step 4. When the activity ends, take another breath and acknowledge, I was fully present. That moment is now complete. This practice seems simple, but it's revolutionary. Over time, you train your mind to inhabit your life instead of thinking about your life and inhabiting your life. Being fully here is the only way to actually live it. Presence is the only prosperity that can't be taken from you. Market crashes don't touch it. Inflation doesn't diminish it. It's yours in every moment you choose to claim it. Lesson 7. Impermanence frees you from financial fear. Now we come to the teaching that holds all the others together, anicca, impermanence. The Buddha's core insight that everything that arises will also pass away. Nothing lasts, nothing stays. The Buddha taught, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. This truth can sound depressing until you understand its liberating power. Because once you truly grasp that you can't hold on to anything permanently, you stop exhausting yourself trying. You came into this world with nothing, not a single possession, not a dollar, not a guarantee. You arrived empty-handed, completely vulnerable, entirely dependent, and you'll leave the same way. Between birth and death, you get to steward resources for a while, but you don't get to keep them. There's a teaching story about a wealthy merchant named Anathapindika, who was one of the Buddha's great supporters. He built monasteries, fed monks, gave generously, yet even he sometimes worried about wealth. Would it last? Would his children squander it? What if he lost everything? One day the Buddha taught him about the 3 refuges, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. He explained, Anathapindika, your wealth can vanish overnight. Fire can consume it. Floods can wash it away. Kings can confiscate it. Thieves can steal it. Even your own children might waste it. This is why wealth is not a true refuge. But wisdom, the Buddha continued, cannot be stolen. Inner peace cannot be taxed. Understanding cannot be lost in a market crash. These are the true treasures. Build your refuge there. Anathapindika understood. He continued to manage his wealth responsibly, but he stopped depending on it for security. His security came from Dharma, from understanding impermanence, practicing generosity, living with wisdom. This teaching transforms financial anxiety when you really let it in. Because if you can't ultimately keep anything, then the pressure to protect and preserve relaxes. You shift from owner to steward, from hoarder to trustee. In Buddhism, there's a practice called maranasati, mindfulness of death, not to make you morbid, but to help you see clearly what actually matters. When you remember that this life is temporary, that every breath is a gift, that nothing is guaranteed, something profound happens. Your priorities clarify. Here's a gentle version of this ancient practice, the 6-month clarity reflection. Step 1. Sit quietly where you won't be disturbed. Take several deep breaths to settle your mind. Step 2. Ask yourself this question and let yourself really feel it. If I had 6 months to live, what would I do differently with my money, my time, my attention? Step 3. Don't rush past this. Stay with it. Would you worry less about the balance in your account? Would you give more freely? Would you spend your remaining time differently? Would you hold grudges less tightly? Would you express love more openly? Step 4. Write down what arises. Be honest with yourself. Step 5. Now ask the liberating question, why am I waiting for a diagnosis to live that way? This practice isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up, because impermanence isn't bad news. It's wake-up news. It says, "This moment is precious because it won't last. This breath is valuable because another isn't guaranteed. This day is wealthy because tomorrow is uncertain." The Buddha taught that when you truly understand impermanence, you stop wasting time on what doesn't matter. You stop letting fear of loss prevent you from living fully. You hold everything lightly, including your money, your plans, your very life. And in that lightness, you finally become free. Letting go doesn't make you poor. Clinging to what fades makes you suffer. We've walked through 7 ancient Buddhist truths together. Contentment as the greatest wealth. Non-attachment as protection for your peace. Right livelihood continuing beyond career. Generosity creating abundance. Simplicity revealing what matters. Presence as priceless treasure. And impermanence freeing you from fear. Each one points to the same liberating truth. Spiritual wealth is the only kind that survives death. Everything else, the bank account, the possessions, the plans, all of it is temporary stewardship, not permanent possession. You've spent decades chasing security, trying to build a foundation that won't shake. But Buddhism reveals that the foundation you've been seeking was never outside you. It was always within, in contentment, in non-attachment, in generosity, in simplicity, in presence, in accepting impermanence. This doesn't mean money doesn't matter. It means money is not what you thought it was. It's a tool, not a refuge, a resource, not a source, something to steward, not something to serve. The Buddha's final teaching to his disciples was this: be a lamp unto yourself. Work out your own liberation with diligence. He was saying, the security you seek cannot be given to you by anyone else, not by wealth, not by others, not even by me. It must be discovered within. Tomorrow morning, before worry about finances can take hold, begin with the 3 treasures gratitude practice. Place your hand on your heart, take 3 breaths, and name 3 things you have that money can't buy: your breath, your awareness, your capacity to love. This week, practice the 30-day lightning. Release 1 possession each day, 1 attachment you notice holding you. Ask, what am I holding that's holding me? And ongoing, when financial anxiety arises, and it will use the sacred ordinary practice, return to your breath. Notice you're worrying about past or future. Bring yourself back to this moment, this breath, the only prosperity you truly have. If these teachings touched something in you, I invite you to continue walking this path with us. More than 86,000 seekers are already here, discovering that ancient Dharma speaks powerfully to modern aging. Subscribe to Quiet Wisdom so these teachings can find you exactly when you need them, in the quiet hours before dawn, in the moments when worry threatens to overwhelm, in the ordinary days that hold extraordinary potential for peace. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Which truth spoke most deeply to your heart? Just type a number from 1 to 7 in the comments below. Or if something specific shifted for you, share that in your own words. Your reflection doesn't just help you, it helps others feel less alone on this journey. We're walking this path together. May you discover the wealth that was always yours, not in what you accumulated, but in what you learned to release. May you let go of what you cannot keep to gain what you cannot lose. May you find the refuge that is not outside you but within you, unchanging and unshakable through every season of this precious, temporary, irreplaceable life. Be a lamp unto yourself. The light you seek has been burning within you all along.